Greetings, my old friends. I call you old friends, not because we are decrepit, but because our souls are sufficiently weathered, bearing enough scratches from time, that we can sit here facing one another without the need for pleasantries or pretense. Imagine we are sitting on a porch in the late afternoon, when the day's harsh sun has softened, leaving only faint golden streaks of light stretching across the old threshold. In our hands is a cup of tea, perhaps still hot, perhaps long since gone cold. But that doesn't really matter anymore, does it? You know, human life is a strange thing. When we are young, we are forever chasing distant goals, like moths rushing into a bright light. We sell our health for money, sell our family time for flashy social connections. And now, having stepped over to the other side of life's hill, when our legs are weary and our eyes are dim, we are startled to realize truths we never even dreamed of before. There are things books don't teach, schools don't teach. Only the school of hard knocks with its expensive lessons teaches us to understand them, when our hair has already turned silver. Today, in this quiet space, I want us to together slowly peel back the layers of these truths. Not to be pessimistic or sorrowful, but to look at them directly, accept them as an inevitable part of natural law, and then find true peace in the days we have left. The first thing, and perhaps the thing we feel most clearly, creeping into every fitful sleep each night, is the absolute loneliness of the human condition. In the past, we feared loneliness. We tried every way to fill that void with noisy parties, crowded gatherings, or at the very least the sound of the TV on all day and night. But now, when the children are grown and have their own lives, when the house has become too vast for one or two old people, that old friend, loneliness, returns, knocks on the door, and stays for good. At first, this silence can be frightening. We look at the phone, lying silent all day without a single ring. We look out the window, where the stream of people still rushes back and forth, and we feel like we are standing on the sidelines of life. But reflect on it, my friends. Isn't it precisely in that extreme loneliness that we truly meet ourselves again, no longer having to wear masks to please bosses, please colleagues, or even please our own children? Loneliness at this time, if viewed more gently, is actually freedom, a freedom we had to trade our entire youth to obtain, even if its price is a bit tinged with sadness. And then from that very silence, we gradually realize another bitter truth about the relationships we once considered the core of our lives. Do you remember the drinking buddies who once swore eternal brotherhood? The partners who promised to walk together to the end of the road of success? Where are they all now? When the halo of position and status leaves us, when we no longer have value to be exploited, those relationships naturally vanish like morning mist. We suddenly understand that it turns out most people who pass through our lives are just passengers on a short segment of the journey. When fate ends, when the debt is paid, they will get off the train, leaving us to continue the journey alone. Even with our children, the ones we sacrificed our whole lives to raise, they also have their own worlds. They have the worries and pressures of a new era that sometimes we cannot share. We cannot blame them for being heartless, because that is the law of succession. Water flows downstream. Parents worry for their children, but rarely can children fully worry back for their parents. Understanding this is not to be resentful, but to let go of expectations. When we no longer expect others to bring us joy, we will have fewer bitter disappointments. Passing through more than half a lifetime, tasting enough sweetness and bitterness, we truly grasp what impermanence means. Yesterday we were healthy, laughing loudly, but after just one night's sleep, a wave of pain can leave us bedridden. Money piled up in the bank now cannot buy back a sound, dreamless sleep, cannot buy back the delicious feeling of eating a simple bowl of white rice. Those reputations, those medals and certificates, hanging all over the wall, now covered in the dust of time, what meaning do they have when we face illness, face the aging of the physical body? We begin to reevaluate the true value of money. If in the past money was the purpose of life, the measure of success, now money is merely a means, It only has value when it helps us buy good medicine, helps us not become a burden to our children and grandchildren. But if we die, money is just meaningless numbers. I have many old friends who scrimped and saved their whole lives, dared not eat, dared not wear nice clothes, only to end up taking that money to feed doctors and hospitals without enjoying a single complete day. Thinking of that truth makes one's heart ache. And one more thing, a truth we often avoid but which still stands there like a mountain, is death. When young, death is something distant, something that only happens to others. But when entering this age, we start receiving more sad news than happy news. Today this friend departs, tomorrow that acquaintance suddenly leaves this mortal coil. Our phone book gradually empties of familiar names. The funerals we attend are no longer those of our parents' generation, but of our own peers. At this moment we truly feel the cold breath of the final friend drawing near. Instead of fear and evasion as in our youth, many of us begin to learn how to accept it. We understand that death is not an end, but perhaps it is a new beginning, or simply a long, peaceful sleep after an overly weary journey. Preparing the mind for departure turns out to be the best way for us to live the remaining days fully. We begin to know how to cherish every warm ray of sunshine, every bird song, every innocent smile of a grandchild, because we know that perhaps tomorrow we will no longer have the chance to see those simple things. Looking back at the past, do you ever feel regret? Certainly, yes. We regret the words of love not yet spoken, the apologies still stuck in our throats. We regret having spent too much time on senseless anger, on petty squabbles over losses and gains. If only time could turn back, we would live differently, more tolerantly, more gently. But alas, time is a one-way train with no return ticket. That regret now is just sighs in the quiet night. However, if we remain immersed in regret, we will waste the rest of our lives. The truth is, the past is over. The future has not yet arrived. We only have this present moment. Letting go of the past, forgiving ourselves, is also a great lesson that old age teaches us. Forgive the mistakes of our foolish youth. Forgive those who once hurt us. Because holding on to grudges in our hearts is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. The more we can let go, the lighter our hearts will be. The older we get, the less our material needs become. We no longer crave expensive clothes, luxury cars. The most delicious meal now is not delicacies in a 5-star restaurant, but sometimes just a steaming bowl of simple vegetable soup, eaten with a few crunchy pickled eggplants on a drizzly afternoon. Happiness at this time is so simple. It does not lie in external possessions, but in peace within the soul. We find joy in tending a potted plant, reading an old book, or simply sitting and listening to an old piece of music and letting memories drift to faraway places. We also gradually realize the importance of knowing enough. In the past, we were forever looking for so-called perfect happiness, but now we understand that life is inherently never perfect. You gain one thing, you lose another. Knowing what is enough is happiness. Having a roof over your head, having food and clothing every day, a body not in too much pain from illness, children and grandchildren safe and sound that is already full enough. Do not compare your life with others, because every tree has its own flowers, every house has its own situation. Looking up, we may not equal anyone, but looking down, we are better off than so many people struggling out there. And one final thing, but no less important, is that we realize we owe ourselves an apology. An apology for pushing this body to work too hard, an apology for letting this soul endure so much hurt without healing it. Now, when our time budget is running low, let's give ourselves the best love and care possible. Do what you like that you didn't have the conditions to do before. Go to the places you want to go if your health still permits. Do not delay anymore, because the word later, at this age, is very fragile. Life is like a book, and we are in the final chapters. Even if the previous chapters were written scribbly, had many mistakes, or had pages soaked with tears, let's try to write these final chapters neatly, peacefully, and beautifully, so that when we close the book of life, we can smile contentedly and say, I lived a life worth living, though with many regrets, it was also full of precious experiences. If you find a little reflection of yourself, a little empathy and peace in these scattered thoughts, please leave a like, as a handshake, a greeting between old friends. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so we can continue to sit together, whispering about life in the upcoming late afternoons. I wish you a peaceful evening, sleep well, and dream beautiful dreams, no longer entangled in worldly worries. Our story perhaps cannot stop there just yet, right, old friend? There are still deeper hidden corners that only when we sit long enough, are still enough, do we dare to gently touch. If you still have time, please stay a little longer. Let us continue to immerse ourselves in this stream of thought. Another truth, somewhat cruel but very realistic, is the feeling of gradually becoming invisible in the eyes of the youthful world out there. Have you ever gone out to the street, into a modern cafe, or stood in the middle of a bustling shopping center and felt like a stranger, a ghost of the past, lost in the future world? The young people glide past us, their eyes looking right through us, as if we don't exist. Or if they do look, it's just a fleeting glance, full of pity or indifference. Our voices seem to lose their weight. The experiences accumulated over a lifetime, sometimes when we want to share them, are brushed aside as outdated, obsolete. That feeling of being left behind, initially, it stings quite a bit. It hurts the ego we spent decades carefully building up. But then once used to that invisibility, we find a strange freedom. When no one pays attention to us anymore, we are allowed to live most truly to who we are. We can wear old but comfortable clothes without fear of judgment. We can sit blankly staring at a flower by the roadside for hours without fear of being called senile. That invisibility turns out to be an invisibility cloak, helping us escape society's judgments to peacefully become a quiet observer of life. Going a little deeper, we realize an invisible burden we have voluntarily carried for so many years, the burden of things. Look around our house. How many things have lain silent in the storeroom, under the bed, on top of the wardrobe for decades that we haven't touched? Sets of dishes saved for special guests that never have guests special enough for us to bring out and use. Bolts of fabric gifted from the subsidy-era souvenirs from faraway trips. We keep hoarding, keep preserving, with the mindset, who knows, we might need it later. But at this twilight age, we suddenly understand that the more we own, the more cluttered the mind. Each object is an invisible string tying us to the past, to the responsibility of preservation and cleaning. We begin to learn the lesson of letting go, not just mentally, but also materially. Clearing out one unused item is clearing out a bit of dust in the soul. We want to leave our children an airy space, not a warehouse full of things that might just be junk to them. Serenity comes from empty spaces where light and natural breezes can flow in, not from rooms cramped with furniture. And then there is a subtle shift in how we perceive beauty. In the past, beauty had to be brilliance, overwhelming, had to be what was trendy and expensive. But now beauty appears in things that are amazingly simple. We find beauty in a streak of sunlight slanting through leaves, beauty in the toothless smile of an old woman selling vegetables, beauty in the trembling hand-holding of an old couple walking in the park. We know how to be moved by the resilience of a small sprout growing from a concrete crack more than by an expensive imported bouquet of roses that quickly fades. Beauty now does not lie in external form, but lies in vitality, in resilience, and the depth of soul hidden within all things. We also learn to compromise with our own bodies. Instead of being annoyed and grumpy every time the weather changes and our joints ache, we learn to listen to it, soothe it like a difficult old friend. We no longer try hard to do things beyond our ability, just to prove we are not old yet. We accept walking slower, eating less, sleeping a little more if the body demands it. This acceptance is not surrender but wisdom. Living in accordance with nature makes old age much less arduous. Finally, a most profound truth, that perhaps only when near the earth and far from the sky do we fully feel that is the value of the present. When young, we live for the future. Middle-aged, we worry about our children's future. We are always in a state of waiting for something to arrive. But now the future is a very short concept and the past has closed. We only truly have this very moment, this breath, this cup of tea, this heartbeat. The practice of living fully in the present is no longer theory in the books of Zen masters, but it becomes an urgent need for us. Eating a bite of rice, knowing we are eating and feeling the sweetness of the grain. Sitting with grandchildren, then fully playing with them, not playing while worrying about tomorrow. Living deeply in every moment is the only way for us to extend our meager remaining time budget. One day, lived fully, is more meaningful than 100 years lived in vain, wasted in anxiety and regret. These confidences may still not be enough to say all the myriad shades of the twilight years. But I believe that as long as we open our hearts bravely, face and accept those truths with a gentle mindset, the sunset of life will still be the most brilliant and peaceful colors. Thank you, old friend, for patiently sitting here until this moment. Old friend, we have talked much about loss, about letting go, about acceptance. But it would be a great omission if this picture of the twilight years were only full of somber colors like that. Hidden deep in the quietude of old age, there are still joys, priceless gifts that only our age group is granted. Let's try flipping to brighter pages of this book of life with me. That is the freedom of time that we have desired all our lives. Remember the years of youth we always had to race against the clock, rushing to work in the morning, hurriedly picking up children in the afternoon, only having a little time to lie down late at night when we were exhausted. And now, the clock still turns, but it is no longer a demanding boss pushing us. We can wake up at dawn to watch the sunrise if we want, or sleep in a little if we tossed and turned last night. We can spend the whole morning just reading a few pages of a book, sipping a cup of coffee, without fear of being late for work. That luxury item named time, we now hold a whole treasure trove of it in our hands. The only issue is how we will use that treasure worthily. And another wonderful gift is understanding and tolerance. Having gone through so many ups and downs, tasted every joy and anger, love and hate, our hearts seem softer, more open. We easily forgive the mistakes of young people because we see the shadow of our own foolish past selves in them. We lessen our strictness and scrutiny, replacing it with sympathy and compassion for less fortunate lives. This tolerance is not only for others, but more importantly for ourselves. We no longer torment ourselves for things not yet done. We accept that we are imperfect human beings, and it is that very imperfection that creates an authentic life. Old age also brings us the opportunity to reconnect with hobbies and passions long forgotten. I have an old friend who worked as a dry accountant with numbers his whole life, only starting to hold a paintbrush when he retired. The first paintings were still scribbly and clumsy, but his eyes lit up with childlike joy every time he finished a work. Others find joy in learning a new musical instrument, joining a poetry club, or simply learning how to use a computer to video call grandchildren far away. It is never too late to start something new. Those little joys are the best spiritual tonic, helping us see we are still useful, still living, and not just existing. Furthermore, the relationship between old spouses at this stage also takes on a very different color. When the children have left the nest, only the two old people remain to lean on each other. Love now is no longer the burning passion of youth, but it transforms into affection, into deep marital righteousness. It is taking care of each other's every meal and sleep. It is understanding that needs only a glance, a handhold. The spouse becomes an indispensable part of oneself. Even if there's grumbling or crabbiness, being apart for a day feels empty and worrisome. That affection is warm and solid like an ancient tree, deeply rooted in the earth, defying all storms. And do not forget the joy of being a grandfather or grandmother. It is a sacred and strangely pure affection. Watching grandchildren grow up day by day, babbling to talk, toddling to walk, we feel like we are reliving childhood once more. The love for grandchildren is sometimes even blinder than for children in the past, because now we no longer have the pressure to discipline strictly, but simply want to spoil them, want to make up to them with the best things. The laughter of children in the house is like tinkling wind chimes, dispelling the quietness, bringing vitality to old age. Finally, old age gives us a privilege to live slowly. In a world spinning at dizzying speed, the slowness of the elderly becomes a precious bass note. We have time to observe more carefully, feel more deeply. We see the beauty of a late blooming flower, hear the crickets chirping at night, feel the subtle change of seasons in every breeze. Living slower helps us connect more deeply with nature, with everything around us, and find the inner peace that busy youth can hardly obtain. So there it is, old friend. The twilight years are not just an ending, but they are also a beginning for a new journey. A journey back to oneself, seeking serenity and enjoying simple but profound joys. Let us just welcome everything, both sadness and joy, like welcoming guests visiting the house of our soul, so that when it is time to leave, we can smile gently and say goodbye without regret, because we know we have lived fully every moment granted to us. Thank you for walking with me through this long stream of thought. I hope these recent shares are like a warm cup of tea, helping to warm your hearts in these cold, windy days. Wishing you always keep health in your body and stillness in your soul. Goodbye, and see you again in our next intimate talks.